Hi, folks. It's Mrs. Dunlap tuning in to go over today's lesson with you, which is our literary analysis of metaphor in Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, we're going to go through this together, and we're also going to write a little paragraph rhetorically analyzing metaphor, which is the rhetorical device, one of the rhetorical devices that he uses. So if you look at the page in your packet that comes after the speech, it is analyzing metaphor. So let's read the directions together. One key rhetorical device that President Abraham Lincoln relies on in his speech is metaphor. Throughout the entire speech, he compares the creation of our country to a birth. Go through the speech again and look for the use of this metaphor. Create the mind map to help you. So in the middle of your map, and yes, I have the key up here. That's purposeful because I'm walking through this with you rather than just saying do it and showing it to me. And with that being said, when we do these activities together, when we come back to school, or if we end up not coming back, I'm going to have you somehow show your work to me, whether it be in a little video that you take showing me your work and sending me that like through a Flipgrid or something. Since this is on paper, it's kind of hard to do. If for any reason you want to put this on a Google Doc and share it with me, each of these activities, you are more than welcome to, whatever is easiest for you. Okay, so back to what I said, we're going to focus on the metaphor of birth. There's also a death metaphor too in the speech, but our primary focus is birth. So our first quote that we could use as an example here is, let me zoom in for you, is the quote when he says, if you look in the speech, second paragraph, now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and dedicated can, wait, that's not the right one. Sorry. Oh, sorry, it's the first paragraph. Scratch that. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition or idea that all men are created equal. So I would like you to write that down, and you can see here I just put a partial quote. I use the ellipsis or ellipses to convey that we're leaving some of that out. So how is this a metaphor? Okay, well, we're talking about the birth of our country. Okay, as we fought in the Revolutionary War, we were establishing a country for ourselves. So the past 87 years, okay, so when he says 7 years ago, when we fought in the Revolution to gain independence from Britain, he is like comparing it to a fetus, okay? And this idea that our country is being birthed like a baby would be birthed. So as I'm talking, I'd like you to write down my notes, my answer here. So what he's saying is the country will be born when truly all men are seen as equal. And that's not true right now. During this time period, African Americans were slaves, and not all men or women were treated equally. And so he's saying until that happens, then we'll be born again, or that idea of rebirth. Okay, so I'm going to give you a second to copy that down. Okay, so hopefully you paused the video while doing that. Let's go over to our next example. So this is the quote. If you look in your speech, it's in the third paragraph. Trying to find it here. Oh, actually, it's in the second paragraph. Second sentence, we are met on a great battlefield of that war. Sorry, third sentence. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that the nation might live. Okay, so we're kind of going to a different metaphor here on death, but birth and death, life and death go hand in hand. If you want to copy this down here, copy that partial quote. what he's doing here metaphorically is linking the death of the soldiers' lives to the birth of a new nation. Okay, so obviously saying they had not died in vain, but all of this fighting that's going to continue on, he's urging his audience right now to join the Union, to support the Union, to continue this war, to fight until slavery is abolished and ended. Okay, so he's linking the death of the soldiers here at Gettysburg, honoring their lives, consecrating the ground, paying homage and respect to them, and that what they fought for was not in vain, that we need to continue to fight in order to birth our new nation where all men, no matter the color of their skin, are created equal. So go ahead and pause the video there and make sure you copy that down. Hopefully you can read my chicken scratch. Okay, third example has to do with rebirth. Okay, our first example was birth, second was death, and then third is rebirth, and our fourth, but we'll get there in a minute. Go ahead and copy this quote down. This is what I was just talking about. This is the third to last sentence in the last paragraph, where he says that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom. Okay, so these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom. So this is part one of the rebirth metaphor. And what he's doing here rhetorically is he is getting the people excited to take action, join the Union to fight in the Civil War so that we can continue to honor the fallen, continue our fight, continue the purpose in this war in order to abolish slavery. So I'm going to pause again, and if you take a minute to make sure you copy down that quote and then the explanation as well. Okay, and last example is the second part of that quote, shall have a new birth of freedom. So again, this ties into that birth, rebirth metaphor. And Lincoln was a rhetorical genius. I mean, the devices that he uses in this speech are so powerful. And remember, he spoke 2.5 minutes, and that was more powerful than Everett Edwards's 2.5 hour oration to his audience. Okay, so I want you to know that this speech is one of the most powerful speeches rhetorically with all the devices that he uses. And what's interesting, folks, when you rhetorically analyze speeches or texts, I wonder, do our authors use these devices on purpose? Sure, I'm sure some of them do. Or when they're speaking from the heart, do they just naturally do it? Okay, a lot of the times when I'm in church on Sundays and I listen to my pastor talk, it's like, oh my goodness, he's doing this and he's using metaphor and he's using anaphora and repetition. And it's like, did they do that on purpose? Did they study rhetoric? Or is it what's coming from the heart? Anywho, so what does he do by this sentence? He's using this for spiritual and political emphasis. This idea that we're a nation under God. We have to fight. We have to do the right thing. And also, this ties to his political agenda too, which obviously was loving people of all race and color and background. And to me, I think Lincoln was one of the best presidents ever. But obviously, he loved the people and he did everything he could to make things right. So that's our last example there. Hopefully you copied that down. And then next, we are going to write a little paragraph together, rhetorically analyzing the use of metaphor. Okay, so I want to explain to you what a rhetorical analysis is. It's not like any other essay you've written or extended response. It's when you take a device that's used in a text and you talk about it. You analyze the rhetoric, the devices, the style of the author, and how it's effective. So we're going to focus on metaphor, okay? And the directions are asking you to include at least one quote. So feel free. I'm going to have you just copy down my example. If we weren't online, I would have you try this yourself, but this is hard stuff, so I want to be able to walk you through it, okay? So this is a great size paragraph. It's about six to 8 sentences here. If I had you write a whole rhetorical analysis paper, that would be a 2 to 3 page paper, and this could count as one of the paragraphs, okay? So a good way to start out an intro sentence would be Abraham Lincoln uses the rhetorical device metaphor in his Gettysburg Address several times, okay? Go ahead and pause the video and copy that down. Another consecutive sentence to use would be he uses this device. Okay, you're kind of saying the why now. He uses this device to persuade the people to join the Union to fight against slavery. Go ahead and pause the video now and copy that sentence down. Rather than just telling the people, hey, come fight with us, he uses metaphor as a way to establish pathos with his audience. So you see how I'm analyzing the device? I'm not summarizing why he used metaphor. I'm analyzing and explaining how he uses metaphor rhetorically. And look what I threw in there. Ha ha. Another rhetorical device, pathos, which is appeal to emotion. I don't know about you, but when I listen to this speech, it's all the feels, okay? Go ahead and pause and copy that down. One of the most powerful examples of the rebirth metaphor is when he says, these dead shall not have died in vain, and that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom. So now I'm incorporating my textual evidence. Okay, you always have to show evidence. Lincoln effectively uses metaphor in his speech, and he clearly won over the hearts of the people due to what readers know about the outcome of the Civil War, which we know that he was able to have people join the Union. He pumped them up. He clearly persuaded them through his speech, right? What is rhetoric? The art of persuasion. He persuaded them to join the Union so that they would have enough soldiers to fight to abolish slavery. Okay, so go ahead and pause now and copy that last sentence down. And then I want you to take some time to read through the paragraph one last time. Read it out loud for effectiveness so you can hear it, how it all flows together. And that would be a sample paragraph of a rhetorical analysis for metaphor. Tough stuff. You're going to do this in college if you're going to college. A lot of my seniors write to me and tell me about their assignments, and rhetorical analysis is one of them. So hopefully this made sense. If not, email me or ask for help. I'm here to help, but good job with this. And we'll be moving on to analyzing ethos, pathos, and logos in our next video. All right, folks, have a great day.